welcome back to International Scale Modeler. I'm Lee. Today we're going to do a review on the Iwata, or Neo for Iwata should I say, side feed trigger brush TRN2. Now I've got one of these because I was after I used to have an old Chinese trigger brush which I got with the old Chinese compressor that I bought many moons ago, and obviously I never used it, and then I thought, well, actually I wouldn't mind a separate brush to do some clear coats with, because they do gunk up your airbrush a little bit more than normal paint does, and a little bit harder to clean than paint. So I thought, okay, fine. So I used this old Chinese thing, but it really did keep breaking down on me and everything like that as well. So I put it away, and you know, ended up throwing it in the bin. It was just absolutely got completely ruined at the end of it. Yeah, so in the bin it went, and I've been using my Iwata Neo, which is a nice little brush. Neo for Iwata. It's a nice little brush. Definitely a budget brush, 50 quid, but it's a good deal for 50 quid. It's better than those Chinese things for 20. You just might as well spend the extra money and get a half decent brush. But I just wanted something a little more heavy duty for the clear coat, something you can fill up the cup, because big models take a lot of coating. I mean, you're going to put 2, 3, 4 coats down before you even start your weathering process, and the same with tanks and all that. Like, you've got to put quite a bit down before you, because obviously all the enamel products and things like that are going to eat into it otherwise. So you've got to put a lot down, and with a 2.2 needle in the brush, it tends to take quite a while. This has got a, I've gone for the 0.545 on this, 0.4, 0.45 or 45. I'll have a look in a minute. So it's a much bigger brush, but it's got some really big cups on this as well. Lots of storage capacity for all the different clear coats that I use. Now I use several different clear coats, so Alclads, it's clear sometimes. I don't use it much anymore, but the Alclads are the main ones I use. But things like Hallants and all that lot as well, that's got a space in my repertoire as well. Extra flat stuff. So there's a lot to choose from, and cleaning it out is a real problem. But with these, you can detach them and everything. So I'll tell you what. Without further ado, let's go in, have a look inside the box. And what I do is I'll go straight from box all the way through to trying it out and everything like that. So let's go over to the spray booth. Right, okay then, so the Neo for Iwata side feed trigger airbrush TRN2, which I've got from aircraft.net, Martin at aircraft.net, on Paul's recommends and everything. Now, I've got this, as I said before, I've got this as mainly for a clear coat spray, which I've got some clear coats there for you to show you. But you can also do I figure it would be good for a good primer gun as well, because it's got a 0.5 needle, not 0.45 that I said on the intro. It's going to cover really well and really quickly, so you can get your priming done really quickly. So I do like the idea of that, especially on the larger models. That's going to be very handy indeed. So it's going to be quite a versatile brush, even though it's got a big needle size. And everyone goes, that's too big. It's good. It fits a purpose, and that's what I've got it for. So what we'll do, let's have a look inside the box. It's very well presented, and inside, obviously, we've got the usual this hard foam stuff that all the airbrushes tend to come in these days. So let's pop everything out for you. And so you can see lots of little odds and sods and attachments, as you can see. I think the instructions are must be under there. Yep, there they go. Okay, so let's get this out of the way and pop that over there. Okay, so we'll quickly go through the instructions. It's not a big sheet. It's just a quick start guide. I think the rest of the stuff you can get from iwata-neo.com for all further in-depth and tips and info. So that's where you need to go. This website here. But basically, it's just telling you how to begin. Attach your obviously to the airbrush to the air hose. I've got one of these quick release valves ready to go on as well. I should do that in a minute. You then go on to the paint part. It says obviously it's not the gravity feed version. There is a gravity feed version, but it's a different system at the tip apparently than this. This is a much easier tip thing. You got the side feed info. Obviously, put a cup on, put it in. You then got this big bottle, 30ml bottle as well. It comes with 3 nozzles, which we'll go into 3 cups in, which we'll go into in a minute. On the rear, then you've got start airbrushing, and it says here how you pull halfway for air, then the rest for air and paint. Unlike a normal trigger brush, this is the Neo for Iwata here, which is their budget one. You would normally push down for air, pull back for paint, okay, which is dual action. Okay, so this is still a dual action, except for you just pull a certain way on the trigger for air and then all the way for air and paint, and you can still dictate how much paint goes down. It is a dual action still. So right, and then you've got it says about here you've got a preset knob on the back, which is good for locking off your sprays. If you want a certain amount of spray pattern, then you can lock it off, and you know you can't go further over it. I've got to say, I've got it on all my airbrushes apart from the Neo, and I use it especially when I'm doing very fine lines like pre-shading and stuff like that. And then it says a quick thing about there. It says about to clean your airbrush, flush it out with the appropriate cleaner. Beep, beep, beep. You've replaced that word with ultimate, obviously, which is much better than anything else on the market. And that's the instructions. So very basic and simple. So let's have a look at the airbrush itself. So this is the TRN2. And it comes with a 15ml side feed, a 7ml cup, and you've got this little attachment here, as you can see, with this ball inside here. Now this is for the 30ml cup, and this just fits in, so it's like a pressure friction cup. Okay, and that's it. So, you know, it's good for if you're doing a lot of painting. I can't envisage. Although saying that, I've just bought a 116 Hobby Boss T3485, and that thing is enormous. It's like, you know, half a metre. So this is actually going to be ideal for that. So bonus, win-win already. So that goes in there. It sits in there quite nice and tight as well. So you're not going to, it's not going to fall out. As you can see, I'm pulling that quite hard. So that's quite handy. For big paint jobs. Obviously if you're not a modeler and you're watching this and you use your airbrush for something else, then that's a great point there. So we've got that little system. Now also, looking at this, I think you could use this just for a small amount of paint. If you've got a little job to do, you could just pop this on there and pop a bit of paint in there rather than having to put one of your side cups on and clean all that out. So that's quite a handy little tool. That can be used several ways. Right, so then you've also got this 15ml cup here, and what I like about it, all the cups come with lids. Okay, so that's very nice indeed. Sometimes you've got to buy these as extras. All the cups inside are very well polished, as you can see, very clean, crisp. So I don't know if it's plated, how long it will last, but that's another big one that, again, for intermediate jobs between the other size pot as well. A 30ml pot. You've then got a 7ml, which is slightly bigger than a normal 5ml that you get. Again, very nicely molded, milled and everything inside. And as you can see, they've all got these little seals around here as well, and they all come with cups, which is very nice indeed. So we'll pop those over there for the time being. Obviously, we get this little spanner as well, which we'll show you what the use is for that in a moment. So the airbrush itself, as you can see, is it's very nice. Now, it sits in the hand really nicely, as you can see there. Okay, it actually sits in the hand really nicely. And when you've got the side cup on, the side cup will rest on your fingers. It's a lot like the cheap Chinese one I had. They are very comfortable to use, and I have to say that they do. They feel very comfortable in the hands, and they are easy to use air guns. That's for sure. So what we'll have a look at now, see, as you can see, so it's all very nice. Obviously it's better out of the pack, so it's very clean indeed. But what we're going to do is just going to take it apart for you so you can have a quick look at the internals. Now, obviously, first of all, you've got the cap, which should just undo here. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to undo the back as well. It's there. Okay, and I'm just going to pull the needle, undo that. Pull the needle back, so I don't want to dink the needle. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll take that out. There you go. So as you can see here, that's a 0.5 needle. That's the largest needle I have in my collection for any of my guns. Okay, so we've got the normal release on the back. You then on the rear you've got this thing which will stop the needle coming back so far, so you can lock it off at a certain spray pattern size for you. We've then got, we go to the front of the airbrush. We've then obviously we've taken off the cap. We've then got the nib housing, so that just comes off quite easy. When you do these up, you should only ever do them finger tight. Don't do them anymore because you'll end up threading all this stuff. And there you go. Okay, you've got the nozzle there. Now this isn't like the normal nozzle that you get from Iwata. They're usually a lot smaller than this. It's quite a large one. And the spanner as well is a lot larger than you normally get. As you can see, it's quite thick. So literally it's just a case of undoing that, Now always just undo it, then do the rest with your fingers. Okay, you don't want to bend or break anything, and your fingers are a lot softer than metal. But so this is what you need to know. It says in the instructions to take this out as little as possible, which is always good advice. But as airbrushes, you'll know that these needles or the nozzles always clog up, and they need a good clean at least once a month. So I would suggest that you invest in something like we've got this. This is a Harder and Steenbeck Arima, and as you can see, and that goes right to the tip of the needle, as you can see it popping out the end there. Okay, and that will clean your needle nicely. Now always remember not to press too hard, because you don't want to stretch the metal at the end of the nib, which you will do. Okay, so that comes off nice and easy, and as you can see, normal airbrush stuff inside. You can clean all that out with a small cotton Tamiya cotton bud and everything, and that just goes in back in again, nice and easy. Now you've also got another bolt here. If you want to a nut here, which if you get a lot of the Iwatas come with larger spanners as well, and then you can open that up completely and give it a good clean out all the way through, which a lot of airbrushes you can't do. So tighten that up, and literally you get it to where you can't move it anymore, and then just give it one little tiny little thing there so you don't thread that. That's the last thing you want to do, is thread that. And then at the back, obviously you can take this out here when you're cleaning, and this will be the spring and the housing and everything behind there, and you'll be able to take the whole lot out from here, so you can get right in there and clean. With the trigger airbrushes, sometimes, as you can see in here, a little paint will spill out and everything, or come back up the airbrush. If it does, literally you take that bit out, and you can clean inside there. You can also unscrew with this here. I used to have to do this to my Chinese one all the time, so I do know a bit about it. You can then unscrew this little bit here. The whole trigger mechanism comes off, and then you can get right in there and clean everything. So all very nice indeed. So I'm just going to pop this back together again. Put all this housing back on first before we go any further, because I don't want to. Nice finger tight, and put the guard on there. Okay. Right, okay, so let's pop this needle back in. Whenever I do the needle, I always use my finger as a guide to try not to, because the skin over the needle, and then that way you're not going to bash it on the edges as you go in. So push it in. Okay. So it's there, and then just give one last tap, and then lock it off. And as you can see, needle's seated in there rather nicely. Right, so we'll put the end on there. There we go, so everything's all nice and tight and everything. Now what I'll do with this pinch tip here, the lock off, is I'll put it all the way forward, and then as I keep hold of the trigger, and then I pull it back, okay, until the trigger doesn't move anymore, and you know you've hit your max point. Okay, so keep going, and there I can't move the trigger anymore, so then I'll just do it up a little bit, just so the trigger moves forward a bit. So now we've got the full flow. Okay, so we've got full range there completely. Okay, so now as you can see, very easy to take apart and put together again. If you've never used an airbrush, the Neos are easy. They're not quite as easy as a Harder and Steenbeck's, because their needle system, their tip system is much better. But this is, I've got to say, I'm already impressed with the weight and the feel of this. It really does feel comfortable in the hand. So let's start putting one of these cups on. So as you can see, they've got the washers inside and everything, and that literally it is just pop on and screw on. Again, you get it to the point where it's tight, finger tight, and then just one little thing just to make sure it's tight. Now I always do these, as you can see I've done it quite often, at a slight angle. You see that angle there? It's probably 45 degrees, well about 35 degrees. Now I do that because when you paint, you don't paint with a needle straight up. You're usually painting like that down, and then that makes this vertical. Okay, so just stops it slopping out. I always put a cup on my brushes anyway, so I don't get any slop. But that's a good way. About 35 degrees there, as you can see, and we're all ready to go. So I'm just going to pop on the quick coupling. Okay, so we're all ready now, and we're going to pop on. There we go. Okay, now I've got on here. Right, now, so I've got this wired up to my Bambi BB8, which is an excellent compressor, which you should all go and get one if you want one. Now, as you can see, air, that's a full range of air system. We've got 25 psi kicking out of the thing at the moment, so 20, I think it's actually 22, which is what I spray at. So as you see, it's a nice flow. Being a 0.5 tip, you're going to get a lot of air out of that as well. So what I want to do first of all is I just want to do a quick demonstration with you with a little bit of paint. Okay, now I'll tell you what I'll do before I do. I'll just show you this other cup that goes on the side before we do anything else, just to give you an idea of what we've got here. Now, as you can see here, you've got this little ball. Now if you wanted to, you could drop some paint into that. If you're just doing a quick spray of something, which I do sometimes, then that's ideal. But other than that, you would fill this up, okay, and literally just pop it in there like so. And there you have a big 30mm airbrush, massive. Now I'm going to need that. I know I'm going to need that for when I do the T34 or Hobby Boss 116 T34 that I've got. So anyway, let's pop this back on. So this is probably the cup that you're going to use the most. Okay. Now I'm going to first of all do a bit of primer for you, just to give you an idea of the primer. Now we've got some AK primer here. Okay, just a little bit, because I think this will make a good primer gun. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop a little bit in there, as you can see. Okay, just a little bit in there, unthinned. Don't need to thin this AK primer. If you're going to thin it, just put that 10% UMP. So let's see what we've got. So as you can see, you can get a nice wide spray pattern. Look at the size of that pattern you can get, and that's not full either. That's full. Okay, and we're out already. See, that's how quick you're going to go through it with a big one. Okay, now I just want to try a couple of little lines. So if you're priming, that is going to cover your model extremely quickly. You are going to get through the paint, but if you want a quick job, then let's just see what sort of lines we can get with this. Now you've got a biting point on this. You can actually feel the biting point. Okay, so let's just pop you up a little bit further. You can actually feel it. See, that's just air, and then there's a little biting point, and then you can, as you can see. So you're not going to get, this is not an airbrush for ultra thin lines, as you can see. It's not going to, you can get them quite fine. Well, saying that, look at that. Let's just move that over for you so you can get a better look. But obviously this is the first time I've used this airbrush as well. So you can see, believe it or not, with a 0.5 tip, I mean that is still good enough for pre-shading on a 148 aircraft. It just takes a bit of getting used to the trigger, as you can see, but you can get some very fine lines. Look at that. So very nice indeed. Okay, so that is, you know, with a bit of there you go, wham, you can wham that down as well. So excellent. Now, I'm just going to give this a quick clean out, obviously with a bit of Ultimate Thinners cleaner. So we spray that in there. Now you can't backwash these at all, okay, so you're going to have to spray it through. But nothing cleans like our stuff, so I'm just going to spray this through for you, clean this off. So what I do is I always spray that through like that, so it gets a lot of the thinner through, and then upend it, clean out the cup, pretty much a lot like Paul does. Then, because it's a side feed, you're going to have some left in this bottom, in this tube and this piping here. So it's getting that out. So as you can hear, that was squealing out. So there's nothing left in the cup whatsoever. But I just want to give it another little go with that, just to make sure. As you can see, we're pretty much gone. Now I always, after I use the cleaner, I always go in with a bit of thinner, because the cleaner will react with the paint, whereas the thinner won't. Okay, you don't want to get cleaner in your paint. And now she's nice and clean, as you can see. Okay, not only that, the residue that's left in the pipe is now thinner and not cleaner. So that's absolutely perfect, as you can see. So let's just get every last drop out. So now we're going to look at doing a bit of paint. Obviously, I probably won't bother with the paint, because it's going to be exactly the same as the primer. So what we'll do is we'll have a look next at the clears, which is why I got this gun. But I just wanted to show there that this is absolutely perfect for putting down your base coats and everything like that, and I will use that on the larger models without a shadow of a doubt. Okay, so we're just going to pop that down there. Now the one drawback of having one quite so big is also the fact that oh, we'll get a new piece of for you. Okay, the one drawback of having this side feed on here is I've got one of these little bench mounts, and it doesn't fit in there. And it doesn't fit in any of the normal airbrush holders at all. It will go in my pot, so if you've got a pot it will fit in there, as you can see, but that is kind of the only thing that it will go into. I've got one of these little bench holders that this doesn't fit in any way, shape or form, so the only way you're going to get that in anything is in a pot holder. So anyway, so we're back up to this, so we're all nice and clean. Now I've got to decide which clear I'm going to do. Now I know that most people tend to use clear, Johnson's Clear. Now this is the new Johnson's Clear, and that is no different to the old Johnson Clear, apart from it smells much nicer when you spray it. Now I don't use this anymore, I'll have to say. This is my weapon of choice now. This is Alclad's Aqua Gloss, and this is absolutely fantastic stuff. It really is. But there is a caveat with it. You literally have to clean your airbrush the moment you stop spraying it. So you can't like do a coat, leave it in the cup, and then come back half an hour later and spray another cup. You have to spray it immediately and clean it immediately, because when it dries solid and it's like rock. It really is. So which is good for when it's on your model, but not so good when it's inside your airbrush. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a bit of clear in there, because this is everyone's favourite choice by the looks of it. So obviously I've just given that a little swish around. As you can see, you can get quite a lot in there. And we pop the cap back on. I'm always going to put my caps back on my thing. I always feel it. So as you can see, again, that's, now you can't see that obviously. So what I'm going to do is I've got my little test bed model here. It's a nice little burr cup, and I'm just going to spray the wings for you, just so you can see what it looks like. Okay. As you see, it sprays very nice. And what you should do with clear is nice thin coats, as you can see. If you load it up too much, and this is perfect for getting those coats just right, because you literally, it's one pass and you're kind of done. Okay, as you can see, that's fantastic. Once that self levels, that'll be absolutely fantastic. And then just you can go over really lightly just to fill in areas you might have missed. So really nice indeed, as you can see, really nice spray on that. Okay, so that is what I'm going to mainly use it for, and I think with the larger trigger and everything, it's really going to help me to do my clear coats completely. As I say, you get a massive spray on it, and I'm actually choking up now because I haven't got my fan on for the video. But anyway, I've got it for a specific purpose, and the purpose was for clear coats and for priming, and that's going to be absolutely ideal for that. I have to say it's very comfortable in hand. I really do like the action you get from this. I'm just going to take it off the air a minute and pop it in your thing. There you go. So that is the only rest you're going to get. Only way you can put the nozzle in. And you still have to squeeze it in quite hard as well. So the only downfall that I can see is that. Alright. Now, obviously I've got to clean this out. So what I'll do is I'm just going to obviously tip this out of here. And then you whap airbrush cleaner in, give it a swirl around. Good going up with your brush. Make sure you get it off all the sides and all around the rim. Quick polish, spray through, empty out, and rinse and repeat. Okay. And I always tend to just put a little bit on the brush, give that another going over, and then always give the tip a go as well. Just so that you can make sure you've got nothing drying on the tip. There you go. That's really nice. Now, nice and clean all the way through. And obviously, as I always do, always give it a going over with thinner afterwards. And then with the thinner afterwards, you know that when next time you put anything in there like paint or whatever, or cleaner, it's not going to react with the cleaner because the cleaner is strong. Okay, so that is, let's just clear that out. There you go, she's completely empty. So, in summary then, I've got to say, I think it's a really nice airbrush. As you can see, it's a lovely, I can't express how comfortable it is in your hand, but you can see how it rests. Okay, you can just see how it rests in the hand, so it's very nice. And when you're doing those big jobs and you're using a little one, it is quite awkward. With this, it's very comfortable to just literally spray away to your heart's content. And with the different sized cups, as I say, if you're not into modelling and you use your air guns for something else completely different, be it painting or larger RC or larger boats or anything like that, then this will accommodate you with these larger containers. Apart from that, it's very handy. I think the price was, I would have already flashed the price up, I think it's about 116, I think, if I remember rightly. It also comes with a 5-year warranty, which is excellent. So if anything goes wrong with this in the 5 years, as long as it's not down to your own you haven't caused it, then Neo for Iwata will replace it, or they'll replace the parts and everything. You send them off and it comes back and everything. So it's absolutely fantastic. I really like it. It's very easy. I don't know, I think they do some other sets for it as well. The seals inside are PFTE, so they're solvent resistant, so you can use things like Alclads as well. I use my Alclad airbrush for that purely because they're cellulose based, and I don't like to mix cellulose and acrylic stuff together. But if you wanted to use it for that, then that's fine. But I think as you can see from the spray pattern, it's actually fine. It's very controllable. Even being a trigger, a lot of people say trigger ones aren't as controllable as the finger button ones at the top, but this has got a very nice control on it. What I like about it is, on my other one that I had of the trigger feed ones, it didn't have that bite point. There's a definite bite point there, as you can see. Okay, and the old ones didn't have that. It stops, and then you've got to push a little bit further, you see. If anything, I would definitely say that you need to put a little bit of lube inside before you start, just inside there, so that when you hit that stop, there's a little jerk. Okay, but if you put some lube in there, you'll lose that completely, so it'll be absolutely smooth. Very easy to take apart and maintain, no problems with that. With a 5-year warranty, if anything gets broken, it's going to get replaced. I'd like to say thanks to Martin at aircraft.net, absolutely fantastic shop that supply all this gear, and you can get it from there. As I say, I think it's about 116 quid. But for larger paint jobs and for your clear coats and base coats, that's a definite recommend from me, and I'm going to enjoy using that because I absolutely love the action on it. So until next time, take care. Bye bye.